Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to be covering the severe weather event that will be taking place here in the southeastern United States on Saturday, March 15th, 2025. So, the Storm Prediction Center just released their third ever Day 2 high risk outlook for the southeast. And the high risk covers from central Mississippi on into central Alabama. And there is also a moderate risk that covers parts of western Georgia that goes all the way into New Orleans. And unfortunately, these two risks, the moderate and the high risk, these are the highest that you can get. These are the highest chances and probabilities that you can get for severe weather that the Storm Prediction Center has. And the main modes that they are expecting are going to be tornadoes. They are expecting tornadoes to happen as we go into Saturday, and unfortunately, they are expecting a lot of them to happen as well. Let's just take you through a couple of the probabilities here. Within the high risk area from central Alabama into central Mississippi, pick a point anywhere within this purple or pink area, and there is a 30% chance of a tornado to happen within 25 miles of that point. And then go down to the red shaded area, there is a 15% chance of a tornado to happen within 25 miles of any given point within that area as well. These are very, very, very high numbers for tornado probabilities. They may seem a little bit low, but over such a huge area, this is support that there could be a tornado outbreak going into March 15th, 2025. And this is what the Storm Prediction Center says. The most probable area for severe weather will cover central and northern parts of Mississippi into northern Alabama and southern Tennessee. Along with this, a volatile combination of severe weather parameters will support potential for long track EF3 plus violent tornadoes. Essentially, what this means is that the Storm Prediction Center has modest certainty, even 48 hours out, that there will be a tornado outbreak in the southeast, along with long track tornadoes possible. The environmental parameters are all there, and they are really setting the stage right now for this to happen starting Saturday morning in the southeast. Let me take you through what could happen. So this is 6 a.m. Northwest Georgia could start seeing a couple showers at this time. 6 a.m. A thunderstorm or two is not off the playing board here in North Georgia. Some of these could have the potential to be severe, but no tornadoes are expected with these early morning thunderstorms on Saturday. They should be making their way on out of here by your afternoon and unfortunately allowing us to clear up. You may say, why unfortunately? Well, this is 4 p.m. and we still have 3 hours of daylight left. And all sunshine does during the day, especially when we have these storms coming up, is make the atmosphere more unstable. It juices it up. It makes it have more energy for these storms to tap into once they get here. So once they get here, right now the models, normally they're a little bit slow. That's just a trend with the models. Normally they're just a little bit slow. So the storms like to arrive just a little bit before what the models are saying. So I would say the earliest that Northwest Georgia could see some tornadoes and therefore some severe or thunderstorms and therefore some severe weather will be 9 p.m. I'd like to also draw your attention to these cells in Alabama. These are what we call discrete thunderstorm cells, and these are most likely all supercells at this point. The environment here is a playground, essentially, for severe weather. They love it there. The helicity values are off the charts. The hodograph is very favorable for tornado development. The helicity values are very favorable for tornado development. There is an abundance of CAPE, which is just energy for thunderstorms to tap into. And this is just not a good setup for these little baby cells to grow in. These will most likely turn out to be long-tracked and sustaining supercells that track northeastward as you go into the night and will most likely drop a tornado within their lifetime. as we go into the nighttime here. And as you guys can see, these cells make their way northeast right towards the tri-state area of South Tennessee, northern Alabama, and North Georgia. And really by midnight, I would say 11 to 12 p.m. is going to be the sweet spot for when you could be seeing some severe weather, especially here in northwest Georgia. This is what a sounding looks like up there. And a sounding is basically just a picture of the atmosphere. And the hodograph, unfortunately, is favorable for tornado development. And the helicity values, which is the SRH, 0 to 1 kilometers, those are extremely favorable for tornadoes as well. Everything else is pretty modest, but those two things are enough for me to say that there will most likely be tornadoes going into northwest Georgia, going into midnight as these storms really start making their way through. I'm not sure if it's an if anymore at this point. I think there most likely will be tornadoes in North Georgia as we really get closer to this event. That is no longer an if, it's a when. And as we go into your overnight, much of North Georgia at 1 a.m. is going to be seeing their fair share of thunderstorms. There is a very good chance that these will be severe as well, and that they could be having, or they could have dropped or have a tornado on the ground at this point. There is definitely a non-zero chance for that as we go into your late night. So unfortunately, this will be a nocturnal event here in North Georgia. And as we go into your late and even early morning hours, this is very, very late night hours, going into your early morning hours, 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., northwest Georgia is starting to clear, but eastern and northeastern Georgia still has a couple rounds of thunderstorms that could be severe and intense as well. The tornado threat is non-zero there as well. And as we go on into your morning hours, much of North Georgia will be clearing, and the tornado threat will be decreasing as we go into the morning time Sunday. So to really round this up, I do think the tornado threat will be greatest in the northwestern part and the western part of Georgia. But as you go into the eastern part, going into Atlanta, going into Athens, Georgia, the tornado threat will be decreasing as you go in through the night, but it will still be non-zero. And please stay weather alert as you go into the night. Have a way to receive notifications as you go into Saturday night. This is going to be a very severe weather active night. I can assure you that. It might be a good night if you have a basement, to sleep down there, especially if you live up in northern Alabama, northwest Georgia, or maybe even southwestern parts of Georgia, the western parts going into the southwestern part. Those storms are most likely can get pretty intense as well. So to sum it up is, I do agree with the Storm Prediction Center. I do think that there will be a tornado outbreak going into March 15th, 2025. The conditions, I will not compare it to 2011 in terms of damage, but the atmospheric, the readiness for the atmosphere to produce this severe weather is definitely there. It is definitely on par with what we saw a decade ago. I'm not saying that it will be another 2011, God forbid that, but it is definitely, the worst case scenario is definitely on par with that if it was to happen. Please stay weather aware as we go into Saturday night. Any way you can. Charge your phones. Try to stay in an interior room if you can. And I'll let you know if anything changes.